Hi guys, welcome back. This is Sam for SAP Careers and Job Seekers Group. Today we're going to talk about very important concept in interview. Almost 40% of your interview selection criteria is based on this concept, and these are not just for SAP consultants. These are across the consulting industry, whether you are in business process engineering, whether you are in technology side, whether you are in the infrastructure side, whether you are into implementation of any application. These techno-functional questions form 40% of your interview process. And these you have to know, because if you have worked in the industry, you have to know these techno-functional questions. So typically these are 9 questions. So let's go through these one by one. And they start from right from the beginning, which is called requirement gathering, and they conclude after troubleshooting. So the first question that it's asked is, have you conducted workshops and how did you go about conducting these workshops? So in any workshop, in any application you're implementing, you have to understand the current process, which is called as is, or current process, or current mode of operation, and then the to be process, which is called to be, or the future mode of operations. So you have to conduct a workshop. The business SMEs will give you the current mode of operation or the current process. Now the business SME might come from financials area, he might come from sales, he might come from materials management, production planning, or quality assurance, or plant maintenance area. He will tell you what he does on a day-to-day basis in terms of his current processes. For example, in an order to cash process, you will start from requirement gathering, then you will create a sales order, then you will create a delivery order, then you will create a goods issue, then you will do proof of acknowledgement of the goods, then you will create what we call as an invoice, automatic invoice creation. And once the invoice is created, you will do a payment process, which is incoming payment, whether full or partial payment, and then you'll settle the payment and clear the books of accounts through the reconciliation account. Now that's the financial process. Now this process is a typical best practice process, but each business has their own flip on it, and they would be doing it a little bit differently. For example, some of the orders are consignment sales order. That means you do not pay for the material till the customer pays for it, and then you just sit with the material in your warehouse or in your retail store, just like Costco or Walmart. Then there is OEM sales, which is original equipment manufacturer. We do manufacture some of the products. So we send it to India, China, Mexico, and then those guys label the product with our brand and they send it back. Excuse me, guys. So they'll send it back to us, and then that process called OEM, original equipment manufacturing process. There's also third party shipment, just like Walmart or Amazon, typically Amazon or Flipkart or any other portal. Yeah, right. What they do is they take the order on their e-commerce portal. However, the shipment comes directly from the vendor. And in Amazon, it's called FBM, fulfillment by merchant. Now, if they are stocking in their warehouse, then it's called fulfillment by Amazon, or fulfillment by whatever the vendor is. So they also stock, and they do take a stocking fee. So these are typical 3 different order types. And when you talk to the head of sales, he will talk about a typical flip or a nuance or a change in that process which is typical to him. So that's discussed in the workshop. And then we explain them the best practice or what typically industry does. And you document this and come to a understanding, and this is the future mode of operation. And the difference between the as is and the to be process is called fit gap analysis. I've discussed this in another video of mine, and if you can scroll through the videos, you'll find that video. The second question that's typically asked is, once you have done the requirement gathering, is how did you document? And this is called blueprinting. Blueprinting typically started when you're constructing a house. It was done on a blue piece of paper. However, it's no more a blue piece of paper. It's just an electronic document where you document the current mode of operation, the future mode of operation, and a common understanding of what the customer wants, and that's called the to be process. So you have the current mode of operation, the as is, you have the best practices, and then you have a future mode or the agreed mode of operation with the client. This is documented in terms of a process flow, it's documented in terms of a narrative, and it's documented in terms of a structure. Company structure, which is called enterprise structure, then master data structure, which is customer, vendors, employees, banks, cost centers, profit centers, general ledger accounts, material master. So you document the master data, and then you document the order types, which is the document types, which are called transactional data, and then you do the integration, right? For example, an invoice I have mentioned in another integration video. An invoice typically creates data from financial, which is pricing, which is GL accounts. It creates material master, which is materials, which is the item category, and then it creates the sales, which is sold to. So typically it will have sold to and shipping address, which is shipped to, and then it'll have a billing address, which is bill to, sold to, shipped to, bill to. And those are typically partner types in the sales order. And this we document in a document that's called business blueprint document. So what do you document in the business blueprint? The second techno-functional question. The third techno-functional question would be, how do you document what you do in the system? And that's called a config guide or enterprise structure or architecture guide, whatever your area might be. You have to document the enterprise structure, you have to document the technology architecture, you have to document your business area, whether it's financial, sales, distribution, production planning, materials management, or plant maintenance, or product, or any other area that might be applicable to you, and you will document that in terms of whatever you have done in the system. Doesn't matter if you have written a program, or you have done configuration through mouse clicks, or you have implemented just a process change, and that is the implementation guide, or what have you implementation. You'll create an implementation guide. So that is called the third question. And this, you will basically take screenshots, and you will take sometimes pictures of whatever you have done in order to automate that process or change the process, and that's called implementation guide. So that's the third question. The fourth is called the cutover process. Cutover is a process of changing from the current to future mode of operations. So whatever you have done in order to automate that operations, for example, Oracle, SAP, Microsoft, IBM, these provide tools to automate that process. For example, if you have a door and people are coming from that door, and then your best practice says do not come from the back door, come from the front door. But if you keep the door open, people will still continue to come from the back door. So you automate through electronic lock system, and you give a code there, and that ensures that the people are not able to enter through the back door. They are only able to enter through the front door. So that's what these applications do. And this could be SAP application, it could be Oracle application, which are typically ERPs, or it could be Microsoft applications as well. So this process of moving from the deadline, from the current mode to future mode, whether it's through systems or through process, is called the cutover process. And that process has to be known. And this would be the next question that's asked. So workshops, business blueprint, implementation guide, and cutover. So that's the fourth question. The fifth question is post go live support. So when you move to a new area or a new technology or a new process, if people have questions, for example, I gave you an example of a door, and people still coming from the back door start knocking there and say, hey, the owner or the manager of that door will say, hey, we already broadcasted and we trained you guys to come from the front door, and you're still coming from the back door, right? So that's called the post go live support. So if they have questions why this is done, how it is done, and this leads to another area called change management or training. So after post go live support, where you troubleshoot both in terms of process and technology, comes the change management piece. So that's the fifth was the post go live support, and the sixth is the change management side. So change management means training and articulating the benefits of the new way of doing it, and why are we doing this, and making people accept to it, because if it's few people, it's easy to mandate that acceptance through what we call an authoritative approach. And then there's a democratic approach. When you have 100,000 employees, or you have a large population of customers, you have to create videos, you have to create user-friendly guides. so that people understand what this change is for and why it is done. And that's called change management. So that's the seventh thing, would be the change management process. So we had business blueprint, right? Workshops, business blueprint, number two. Number three, we had the implementation guide. Number four, we had the cutover process. Number five, we had the post go live. Number six is the change management process. Now there are three more processes that are asked in a techno-functional interview, and let's look at those 7, 8, and 9. The seventh would be a data migration process, right? So in a backdoor scenario, it would be what is required to make that automation work. It would be batteries that you put in the electronic door lock, but we don't have a battery in an automated process or its application. Then you will have to put data. So the data of your all customers, vendors, your different scenarios that you have, which is part of what we call a data migration, so that when they come through the new process, they already have what it takes for the process to work. So order will need, as I said, general ledger accounts, pricing, material, and delivery time, the delivery to address. All of that data is already input there, so the new process works seamlessly. And that is called the data migration process. That's the seventh process. Eighth process is support process or operational support process. So in operational process, we have something called service level agreement. Service level agreement basically means demarcating, number one, whether it's a issue or whether it's a change request. If it's the issue, then it's called a break fix issue, and you are supposed to resolve those issues quickly. So we demarcate SLAs as typically three scenarios and sometimes four. So the three would be high, medium, and low priorities. And the fourth one would be critical area, right? So very, very critical area, which needs to be resolved in 2 to 4 hours. High would be like 4 to 8 hours. Medium would be 2 days. And then low priority would be 3 to 5 days, right? So that SLA is defined in the operational support process. It also has an escalation process. So it doesn't get resolved with the target date. Then how do you go out and resolve that issue? By escalating it to the next level, right? So it has 4 levels of support: level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. Level 1 is business. Level 2 would be the triage team, which decides if it's a basic issue, they'll resolve it, which is called help desk. If it is meant for the networking side, they'll send you to network. If it's meant for the consultant who has to do configuration to make the changes, it'll be sent to that consultant. So that triage team is the level 2. Level 3 is the consulting team. So it will come to you. So if you're a consultant in the SAP or any other area, then it'll come to you. You have to tweak the system. In most cases, it'll be the automation tool, whether it's SAP, Oracle, Workday, ServiceNow, whatever the tool might be. So you'll have to go and tweak the tool to make it work properly, right? So that's level 3. Level 4 means coordination of different business partners. So it would be the company like SAP, it would be the network team, or it could be a bank which is involved in that, or it could be another service provider. For example, you might be using internet from a company, or you might be using outsourced data centers like Microsoft Azure or Google. So you'll have to involve those teams. That coordination is the level 4. So that's the operational support piece. So that's the question number 8. Question number 9. Ninth would be basically troubleshooting for errors. So training users and all the SMEs, how do you troubleshoot? So number one issue is authorization issue. Are you authorized to do that work? And it needs positive and negative testing. Number 2 is a process error or an exception. For example, if you're doing OEM order, then you have not thought about what happens if the goods get damaged, and that's an exceptional circumstances. How do you handle those exceptions? Number 3 would be typical errors, which means some data is missing that should have been there, and that data needs to be populated in the right manner. Number 4 would be your process. You are following a wrong process. You are inputting a wrong kind of data, and we have to default into the right kind of data, because sometimes you are allowed to change that data. For example, if you have to put price, you can put selling price, you can put discounted price, you can also sell it free. So if you're putting the wrong kind of data, they will get an error. The 5th error would be a program error. So error which is a program error, and that would need debugging the application. So typically, if you are sending an interface, you'll put a breakpoint and put a value true or false to get the right kind of data. So data has to be matched, right? For example, if I'm sending data to Walmart and they need in certain format, and I have been sending and it's working perfectly, but if they change their structure and upgrade their application, the interface, the order stops working. So that troubleshooting is again a break fix issue. The last kind of issue is not an issue, it's a change request. Hey, I forgot that I had consignment sales, I had OEM sales, I had third party sales, I also had credit sales, and we didn't plan for credit sales, right? So that would not be counted as the issue, will be counted as a change request, and it's an additional feature that you're asking for, and that's the team to look at, and they will scope it out, they will estimate, and it'll cost you money to implement that. So guys, those are the 9 techno-functional questions every consultant has to know, and these form 40% of your interview, and these questions have to be known by consultant irrespective of which technology you come from, which background you come from, which module you come from. Now, this also validates, have you done projects? So if you have done projects, you would have sat on requirement gathering workshops, you would have done blueprinting documents, which is number 2, right? You would have created a configuration or implementation guide, number 3. You have done a cutover process, number 4. You would have done a post go live support, number 5, right? You would have done data migration, number 6. 6 would be change management or training, number 6. You would have done data migration, number 7. Right? Then you would have done what we call as operational support, number 8, and then you would have troubleshooting or technology troubleshooting side, number 9. So there you go, guys. Those are the 5 things that every consultant has to know, and this forms almost 40% of your interview. Hope you like these tips and tricks, and good luck with your interview. We at Sapsol Technologies do trainings in SAP. We also do projects, real life project simulation and projects with our clients, and you support our consultants and you get that experience of real time. So please reach out to us at careers@sapsol.com or our website hirerig, HIRERIG.ai, hirerig.ai. And please subscribe to this channel so we can reach out to you and give you more and more tips to make you successful in your career. And this is Sam signing off for SAP Careers and Job Seekers Group. Thank you, guys.